I guess from my perspective, most of the guys that I've experienced through business coaching over the years have had some level of non-payment in the mix, and some guys have an incredible record of keeping that really low, and others it balloons out on them. And so I guess like if you could distill it down as to why do you feel it's important to have a focus on this before it becomes a problem? Because I think once people experience the pain, they go, "Oh, I really got to sort this out." But like, how would we explain the importance to someone who might not have experienced that pain yet, and can we help them sidestep that?
Look, I mean, we can do our best, right? We can do our best, but I think people, people are generally, pretty nice and pretty trusting, and rely on things like handshakes and people's words and all of that, right? So, and sometimes that gets you reasonably far through your business sort of business life. But yeah, there is I think once people have had a bad experience, then moving forward, they generally
tighten everything up a bit.
Start to tighten things up a bit more. Yeah. So, look, I would say, yeah, run your business how you like, but just be wary of quantums. Just be wary of quantums, because if you're if non-payment sort of, I guess I'd probably recommend have your threshold. Decide in your own head what your threshold is. Okay, well, how much is for each client am I going to sort of essentially be extending credit to? Because that's what it can sometimes end up being.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So what's my limit? Yeah, and the good thing is that with the Security of Payment Acts around Australia, there's the ability to suspend works for non-payment as well. So if that's why endorsing those payment claims is really important, because not only does it give you the ability to recover the payment, but it also gives you the ability to suspend works if payment's not made by the due date as well.
Yeah, right.
So that becomes a way to really kind of stem the flow of any sort of quickly increasing debts, right?
Yeah.
And without being, I guess, concerned that potentially the other party's going to turn back and say, "Oh yeah, but you're not on site, so the works are not being progressed, so we're going to sue you." Blah blah blah. The Security of Payment Act has specific provisions about that. If you're validly suspended, then the other party doesn't have any sort of retaliation measures against you, which
gives you a bit of leverage there, like as well. Like if the project's stopped, then they need to get the thing moving, and they might be more inclined to play ball.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I mean, having your thresholds, I think, is pretty important. Now, another thing that just sort of springs to mind, so I'll mention it. Have a look at the nature of your business. Make sure that you're only recovering payment for things that you're actually getting paid for. And like what I mean by that is, say if you're doing works for somebody. And you've got your labour component, which is you and maybe your staff, then yeah, you should be invoicing for that, and you might have to wait for payment for that. But be careful of invoicing that. But then at the same time, you're also invoicing for some really expensive piece of material or equipment or something like that, which you've got on your own dime, and then that really is a credit extension, right? So if you've spent, let's say your invoice, 20,000 of it relates to the work that you actually did, but then another 100,000 relates to this piece of equipment that you've supplied, and then had to purchase yourself, then that's a really bad position to be in. So if you want to what you want to do is ensure that that the client or your clients or customers or whatever are actually paying for this stuff separately. If it's equipment or material, obviously within reason. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, you got to go to Bunnings and buy me, a box of nails and stuff like that." But if it's like some sort of, if it's a substation or something like that, get them to pay for it in advance so it gets ordered, and then at least if you find yourself chasing payment, you're only chasing payment for your own work.
Yeah.